Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having some of the most interesting luminaries in all of professional wrestling for my Royal Rumble is what I kind of thought of because I don't want to get sued. But absolutely, this is the Royal Rumble preview show, and I am so thrilled to have this is probably the most people that I've had on any one stream, but that is in honor of the Royal Rumble. I have introducing first somebody who's more, chemically reactive than Adam Bomb, Julian Smith. We have Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, United Wrestling Network commentator, James Kincaid, the major domo of everything that is the Conrad Thompson podcast, including the upcoming Kurt Angle podcast, Steve Kaufmann, and United Wrestling Network's own host, the real Jack Farmer. What's going on, folks?
Man, I'm excited. This is my favorite day of the wrestling year, the Royal Rumble. I feel like people say this is the start of WrestleMania season. Well, I say that this is the pinnacle. This is the best part. The rest is just the icing on the cake. So I'm super pumped for today.
Yeah, today is definitely, they say the big four of the big four. This is my number one spot. Love WrestleMania, but the Rumble, just one of the best gimmick matches, if you want to call it that. One of the best concepts. Never fails to surprise. It's always good to see people come back, and it's always good to, everybody gets a chance to get that shot at WrestleMania. Some guys aren't going to get it, but actually there are some years when, let's put it like this. Royal Rumble was the only time that I've seen Rey Mysterio get booed, and that's when he came in at number 30 and everybody wanted to see Daniel Bryan instead. So it's always a show. It's always a great show.
Yeah, it is that sort of, it's almost like opening day in sports where hope springs eternal. Everybody has a shot, everybody's 0-0. Anything could happen, or so is the promise. Now, whether anything could happen has happened, that's sort of up for debate, but it is such a fun day. And, the road to WrestleMania really hits high gear today. I love the Royal Rumble, and, the especially in years past, the surprise entrance coming back, it's in the internet age, it's rare where you can really get surprised. But if there's a day in wrestling where it happens more often than not, it's today with the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so, I want to kind of start it off because, Royal Rumble, as we know it now in the WWE, was essentially the brainchild of one Pat Patterson, and this is the first Royal Rumble that we've had since its inception, and Pat is unfortunately passed away. So this is kind of... it's kind of a somber one for me, I would hope that they do some sort of kind of tribute at the beginning or whatever. I know they had the 1 hour WWE Network special, and that was absolutely amazing. But I just want some, kind of tipping the hat of somebody who, again, this concept as we know it now wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I would fully expect some type of video tribute before the first of the Rumble matches. Just in my mind's eye, something that popped into my head. I would love to see Big E in the Royal Rumble wearing that old Pat Patterson first IC champion t-shirt as he comes out. I don't know why that just would really work for me. But yeah, some type of tribute I think is certainly upcoming.
I agree. I think Big E would be the perfect person to pull that off too. It feel for whatever reason so natural and so perfect there. But it is so funny because you hear the stories about how Vince McMahon didn't like the idea of the Rumble at first, and it's so weird looking back with 2020 vision and knowing that it's great and thinking, how could this not work? But I guess when you've never seen it before, it could sound a little weird or like it might not be that special. But man, it is it is the number one day for me. And it's funny, this is the one show that I intentionally like to gather around with my lapsed wrestling fans. Well, now we're going to be doing it Zoom wise, but the people who haven't been watching as much lately, because it's always fun to see their reactions, whether it be the returning person coming back for a surprise debut, or whether it be who's this guy? And you can kind of get a more organic, like, are they a star or are they not a star kind of response from people who haven't been watching. So it's always a fascinating time for me as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of, I think we're going to spend a lot of time on the actual Rumble matches, the women's and the men's respectively. But are there any Royal Rumble matches that you guys are looking forward to? Any kind of things that would pop you guys individually?
I actually am interested to see Goldberg and Drew McIntyre. I mean, probably the only one that it's okay, people out there, you can admit it. I like Goldberg.
Yes.
I think he's great.
Yes. Goldberg.
Yeah, he's an attraction. That's what wrestling was founded on.
I love Goldberg.
He's an attraction.
I love Goldberg.
Thank you, Jack.
Glad you're on. Yes, I'm so excited. I want him to
It's
win
okay
so
to
bad.
be young and like things. He's a superhero, okay? He doesn't need to give a gajillion star Tokyo Dome match.
Right, I agree.
My personal favorite, the reason why I love seeing Goldberg coming back is because when Goldberg is back, I know they're going to bring back Gilbert for some reason.
The first wrestler I ever met in my life was Gilbert at WrestleMania X7 Access. He wasn't doing signings. He was just walking around, and I was with my dad. I was like, Dad, that's Gilbert. And he heard me, and he came over, took like photos in character. He was the nicest guy. So I'm a Gilbert mark too. So
Yeah,
Goldberg, Gilbert, any Berg I'm into.
I got to shake my finger at all the people who have been naysaying Goldberg over the past few years as well, because he was everyone's favorite back in the day. And I don't like how wrestling fans, they say, this guy's my favorite. I love him. And then for some reason, the wrestling fan changes their mind and suddenly turns their back on him. Goldberg's the same Goldberg he always was. If you liked him then, you should like him now. I think he's amazing. I want him to win. I'm
into it. And as the Planet's champion Daniel Bryan used to say, they're fickle.
Yes. I just like greatness. I'm one of those people. I like Tom Brady winning all the time. I like Goldberg winning all the time. I like it. I want to see him going. And James, I'm so excited that you like Goldberg also.
Absolutely. So much of what we do is in the presentation, and you cannot argue the presentation of Goldberg. It's one of the best ever.
Yes, 100%.
No, so I was a Goldberg fan, during that whole run, the Georgia Dome and him beating Hogan, the whole run, this whole streak, I was totally in, but in 2020, oh my gosh, that just shows, in terms of, everybody that isn't signed to a contract or a Legends deal or what have you, I remember, Flair coming back, in iterations and, kind of wacky, Dick Murdoch was in a Royal Rumble, my goodness, just wacky things like that, right? So in terms of the Legends pool or the free agents or whatever that the WWE are used to kind of pulling in, it's kind of slim pickings now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to see, hopefully we don't see a Bret Hart, and I'm the biggest Bret Hart mark there is, right? But my son's name is Owen, but I mean, to see Bret Hart, especially after the last run and how limited he was physically, it was just I want to remember Bret like he was. I mean, I'm talking pre-Montreal Screwjob. Even that run as a heel with the Hart Foundation, I was all in. So, but I mean, Goldberg, as somebody that has notoriously been on the kind of the 86 list in the WWE, and they're much like the Warrior, Ultimate Warrior, where, there were smear pieces and shoot interviews aplenty that were just I think there's a compilation of people digging on Goldberg, essentially 2 hours long on YouTube. You don't have to look far.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Goldberg match will be fine as long as pre-show they keep his head away from lockers. If he can just manage to not bust his head on a ring post or something, just give us a solid match. Here's the thing: from a Goldberg match, I mean, that you're going to get a spear, you're going to get some punches, you'll get a few kicks. I mean, I'm not expecting any planches. I'm not expecting any Spanish flies or nothing like that. It'll be entertaining for what it is. And when you take two big guys, I mean, like a Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar match is always great because, like Big E says, it's just two big sweaty men slapping meat. And that's what people turn into. They want to see the big guys just beat the hell out of each other. We all love a good slobber knocker, and Goldberg will definitely give you that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's kind of funny, right? Because Goldberg in 2020, like, I just expect him to maul over everybody. Like, if I saw a 5-minute Goldberg match, I saw like what 3 minutes and 20 seconds, like, or pretty much too much, right? And honestly, Goldberg is the only person that I want to see doing a spear. Like, the spear is done for me. The only time it's legitimate is for Goldberg. I don't want to see Charlotte. I don't want to see anybody else, because if the spear becomes a transitional remove like the DDT or
like
the
the
brain
super
buster.
kick.
Yes, the super kick. Like, I can't do it, and I think it's already kind of run its course when you see, like, I mean, it was obviously, you mentioned Dwayne Gill or Gilbert, that was cool, right? And it was done in parody. But, like, even when I saw Edge doing it, and I was just like, what are we doing, man?
I'll take you back to young me watching Edge. You start using the spear as his finisher. For whatever reason, it took me so long to sort of take to that, because it looks so different with the guy of Edge's build doing the spear as compared to Goldberg. Now, Edge, rated R superstar, one of the all-time greats, and certainly, I got over that. But at first, I was like, oh, like, the mark in me, I was like, it just doesn't look nearly as impactful. Like, Goldberg spear's the best kind of deal. So I definitely take to what you're saying there about it.
Yeah, hey, Goldberg killed people when he lays into people when he's spearing them.
Went away from the downward spiral.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a great finishing move.
It was.
I don't know if it was too tough on his neck or what was wrong with it, but he went from that to the spear.
That being said, Edge doing the spear, all worth it for him spearing Jeff Hardy off the, hanging from the titles in WrestleMania X7. Worth it.
Yeah, it is interesting because, I agree. I feel like Goldberg has the best spears, but now that you mention it, I think when you think of, like, the biggest spear moments, they're all Edge, really. Edge and other people. But
Goldberg's is used just to set up for the jackhammer, usually.
That's fair, yeah. I noticed someone in the chat said Rhino spear. I feel like the Rhino's gore was a little different, though. I may be nitpicking here.
Leaping, I think.
Yeah, it was a little different. I don't know. Again, I'm nitpicking, but maybe it's because I like the gore and I want to still say the spear is the best. I'm just trying to have my cake and eat it too. But they're a little different, I think. I think they separate there. But the spear, the Goldberg spear, man, it just looks like it hurts. So when he hits people, even I'm watching at home going, ugh, which is, I guess, a good thing.
Goldberg's spear is appointment television.
Yes, that's the way to put it. Yes, if you just say Goldberg spearing someone on tonight's episode, you're tuning in.
Yeah,
it's great.
Now, so any predictions in this match? WWE World Champion Drew McIntyre and Goldberg. Who do you see coming away with the gold?
Goldberg. I'm Goldberg all the way. I'm always gonna root for Goldberg. I'm one of those people when I pick someone as a fan, I'm their fan forever. I picked Goldberg a long time ago. I think Goldberg's gonna win this match.
I think Drew McIntyre is a tremendous champion and a tremendous asset to WWE, but in these unprecedented times as they were, and you need a little infusion of something, I'm going with Billy Box Office, man. Goldberg, let's go.
Oh man, I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre, and here's why. Getting the pin on Goldberg will definitely help cement his reputation. It'll make him look strong going into Mania. We don't necessarily know who his opponent's going to be for Mania, but he needs this win to look strong and to be strong. And let's face facts. Last Mania, that Claymore that he gave to Brock Lesnar was so devastating, where, even after the Rumble, Brock was like outside the ring, just like laying around for minutes and minutes. He's got to keep up that kind of momentum. He's got to still show that he's got that much power for him to move on to the next challenger, who will be, at this point, I really can't call it.
if they can time it right, Goldberg going for the spear and running into a Claymore would look sick, or vice versa. Going for the Claymore and eating a spear would be a pretty cool way to wrap things up in that match either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Drew. Even though, I have a weird thing about Drew. His physical presentation, and I'm all for body self-image and whatever. And he's gotten a lot better than he did when he was like skinny. You know, the next big thing or whatever. But his neck is way long for his body. Like I want Drew McIntyre to literally be like Otis. Otis is built on Drew McIntyre, and that, I mean,
need more tricep meat.
Yes, exactly.
Man, Drew can't catch a break. That guy is shredded and built like a bull, and you're complaining about his neck? How unfair is that? That guy spends probably 100 hours a day in the gym. What do you expect from the guy?
I've seen the videos. It's just like, again, there's just like a weird... Bobby Roode has it too. I mean...
I didn't think that's the direction you were going when you were talking about what Drew McIntyre looks like, because to me, when I see him, and I love Drew McIntyre, but he is the cover of every 90s trashy romance novel.
Yes!
that is Drew McIntyre. Like, especially now that you got the kilt and the sword and stuff, and it's like the wind and the Fabio looks and stuff. It's like, oh my God.
I was going to say the hair volume's the only thing missing. If he had that, it'd be game over for book covers. And, a slight breeze and some hair volume, and he's done.
And British Mountains wants to know over on Twitch, what subjects are we talking about? We're talking about the WWE Royal Rumble 2021 edition. And apparently, Alex Ramirez says, breaking news, Natalya vacated her number to Ronda Rousey, and that is the new number 30.
I was hoping they were going to keep that a surprise. I was suspicious that Ronda would be showing up and probably winning this, but maybe the man Becky Lynch is waiting in the wings as well to maybe sort of screw up Ronda's glorious return. I don't know.
So not to jump the gun, but in my final four for the women's match, I did have Ronda Rousey, and I've also got Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Bayley. However,
I love that final four.
However, a returning Becky Lynch does throw a monkey wrench in there. Who was Becky? Becky was feuding with Asuka before she left?
Feuding in a loose sense of the word, but I don't necessarily think Becky will be in the match, but let's say Ronda's in your final four there, and she pulls like a Hogan on Sid Vicious and helps eliminate her kind of deal. And then, because I don't think Becky's probably good to go this soon after having a kid right now, but she could be good to go by WrestleMania, and we could finally get in the one-on-one Ronda-Becky Lynch match that we want. Just fantasy booking.
Yeah, I think that's the. I mean, that's the WrestleMania headline, or that's the match. I think that if you possibly can, you're going for Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch for WrestleMania. Yeah. That prints money.
Yes, sure does.
Absolutely, and. Alex Ramirez saying, hey, Adam, thank you for your podcast. Always entertaining. This Rumble podcast is actually very enjoyable. So we're not trying to throw shades on other Royal Rumble podcasts, but I think this is where you want to be. I mean, in the hours before
Most
Royal Rumble.
Yeah. This is the best pre-show ever.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I'm not one for hyperbole, but there's never been a greater podcast done in the history of the world.
This is the greatest podcast in the history of our sport.
Yes.
And again, coming from such esteemed podcasters such as yourselves, that means a lot. But I mean, I like Draped in Gold. I like everything that the United Wrestling Network puts out. So I'm just saying. So, okay. And so we've got the Drew McIntyre deal. All right. Anything else?
From Drew McIntyre?
No, for the rest of the non-Rumble matches.
I think Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns will have a good showing. I think they'll have a fun match. I think they're gonna beat the hell out of each other, and always good. That's always what you want from a pay-per-view show. So I'm probably gonna be excited for it. I don't think anything is stopping the Roman Reigns freight train, but I think they'll put on a good show.
The Tribal Chief will keep his spot at the head of the table coming out of the Rumble.
I mean, the Roman Reigns is so great right now. That's what's making it hard for me to predict a winner for the men's Rumble. Is I keep thinking, who on earth can stand up to him? I feel like every time I look at a name, I'm like, yeah, but Roman Reigns can't beat him. That's what I'm kind of thinking. James. You and me, we park our car in the same garage. I like it. That's what I'm thinking. I always get a little dicey on picking surprise entrances, but that's my real pick. I think is who I think might actually come.
Cena.
Yeah, I think so. He's the only one I can think of that can measure up, I think, to a Roman Reigns right now. I can't think of anyone else.
I know this is jumping around, but the sort of Brock Lesnar is somebody that I heavily could see winning this Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant. The thing is, we've seen Brock versus Roman a lot. We saw Brock versus Drew last year. So, but look, Brock's box office too. He's Brock's office. So I could see them going that route with either Drew or Roman, to be honest with you. But John Cena is another one that definitely I feel like is waiting in the wings. And Roman versus John, when Roman was still face, was really good too. And it sort of John forced Roman to sort of level up on the mic as well. So that's definitely something I'm interested in.
It's also not lost on me that John Cena's been sniffing around a little bit WWE again with the WrestleMania announcements and things like that. He's sort of hanging around those guys again. So I'm hoping. I'm a John Cena fan as well, so I'd love to see him come back and have a match.
Well, with the Fast and Furious movie getting delayed so long, I think Cena's got some time in his hands. Because of COVID, some shooting of movies is kind of scaled back a little bit. So he actually may have some time on his hands. He's not out doing promos for the Fast and Furious thing right now. So, I mean, go back to the Performance Center, give back a little bit to where he came from. And, just showing up for the Rumble period would be great for him. For him to win it, though, I don't know if they're ready for the crowd to boo another end of the Rumble like they did when Batista won that time. So, but him just showing up would be great.
Well, here's the sort of advantage they have with that in the pandemic era is the fact that there aren't as many fans, so they can control the fan narrative or the TV narrative rather a lot more with who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And I think if there was going to be a full-throated WrestleMania crowd this year, we would be getting a different matchup, but I think they want to save the real main event for next year. I'm going the long way around the barn. So you have John Cena win the Royal Rumble this year, lose to the Tribal Chief, sort of a passing of the torch moment. The two sort of most divisive top baby faces of their given eras. Roman now this amazing heel character and everything. He wins next year. Roman's still going strong, whether he has the championship or has lost it a couple times and gotten it back. Then it's the head of the table. And it's Roman. You're facing you're the head of the table in the mansion that The Rock built. And then so the main event of next year's WrestleMania is Roman Rock. So you got Roman beating Cena this year, and then he catapults into next year's WrestleMania, Roman Rock. I think that's a good long-term story to tell for him.
And then Goldberg.
Goldberg.
But to John Cena getting booed, I get why you say that, but I feel like he's been away long enough that if he came back, I think he'd be embraced again. I get why people would boo him historically, but I think he's been gone long enough. And I think since the last time he was there, it was WrestleMania and it was the Firefly Funhouse and it was weird and it was interesting and people were into it. I think people would actually be interested in seeing a return of John Cena. I think they'd cheer it a bit more than in the past.
He's venerable now almost. It's like we didn't appreciate what we had until it was too late.
Yeah.
Well, so to piggyback what you were saying, James, about the long form storytelling, this being the COVID era, I mean, this Rumble has a huge hump to overcome versus what was last year, because last year's Rumble was the fact that Brock was in there until number 13. He was in there for a very long time as champ in the Rumble. And then you had Keith Lee come out. You had Strowman, Keith Lee, and Brock in the ring at the same time. You had just the live crowd reaction for Edge's return was just Road Warrior pop just through the roof. And
Emotional.
yeah, and just the entire atmosphere was just something that in the post-COVID era, that's kind of hard to recapture. So if you kind of work your way back to that, I think that'll be a good move on their part too.
Now, one place that John Cena has also been making promos for and sniffing it around is on TBS. On Wipeout. They're rehashing Wipeout, and him and Nicole Byer of Nailed It on Netflix are basically hosts for Wipeout. So, of course, that'd be cool if John Cena was in the Rumble, but I can't wait to see John Cena host Wipeout with the gal from Wipeout. I mean, from Nailed It. So, in the words of Borat, I very excited.
I love it.
I thought you were going to say the girl from Nailed It is going to win the women's rumble also.
That'd be great.
Cross promotion there.
I'm just saying. I mean, or you might see one of the two in, I don't know, AEW. But that's another story for another day. I don't want to, whatever. But
I mean, Cena confirmed to AEW? Is that what I said?
It's in the Turner Network.
Breaking news.
I'm just saying. I'm going to put
Can we get the Cody Rhodes gift?
So, I'm just saying. So, I don't know what's going to happen. So, okay, so official picks in terms of Roman and Kevin. For me, this is actually a go to the bathroom popcorn match. Like, they don't have heat with me. I mean, Owens has been, I love Kevin Owens. You know, I mean, growing up here in LA, I was literally maybe 10 blocks away from the old Reseda, place with PWG. Love Kevin Owens. I just think he's been so buried, and my feelings towards him are almost like, kind of like it is with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has a lot of, like, his new gimmick is probably the best Reigns that we've ever seen. The thing about it is, again, if you're going to go tribal chief, go full tribal chief. I don't want to see I like the fact that they took off that shield, because that was the one thing, the first thing that lost the legitimacy of Roman Reigns was he started selling on theoretically speaking, a bulletproof vest, a kayfabe bulletproof vest, and when you get punched in the stomach.
Well, to be fair, it didn't have the D'Lo Brown metal plate in it.
Yeah,
but D'Lo Brown didn't sell punches to the stomach.
That's true. Well, he had that steel plate in there. That's why he had the most devastating splash off the top rope of all time.
And guess what, guys?
The most stylish too.
Indeed.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. And guess what? Steel plate versus Goldberg. Steel plates are undefeated.
That's
at the
true.
hands of Bret Hart.
Oh,
so
yes.
there you go.
Hopefully, old Drew doesn't have a steel plate in his kilt this time around.
You're going there. He's got brass down there. I don't think he's got steel.
There you go. So, and then, who do you guys? We'll get to that, Yaz. So, in terms of KO and Roman Reigns, who do we have?
I mean, I think, as I said to start, I think that Roman Reigns is unstoppable right now. I don't think there's anyone who stands up to Roman Reigns right now. No one, he's definitely on a tier of his own. That said, as far as the bathroom break thing, Kevin Owens has a way of pulling people into matches. He has a way of putting on great shows every time he's in the ring. I think he's going to make this so much better, so much more competitive than even I'm giving it credit for. He always finds a way to make moments. And so I think this is going to be a banger of a match, but the tribal chief, he's going to retain.
We all know that KO can fill up a big plate, but he's going to be sitting, just because he's sitting at Roman's table doesn't mean he's going to be the head of the table. It's the Reigns train.
Yeah, right now Roman Reigns is essentially Wayne Brady from the old Dave Chappelle skit.
Give me a sandwich.
You just can't go wrong with that, man. So, but I gotta say, if I can get Kevin Owens to do the single finger touch on the bottom rope to break the pin, I'm happy.
I like it. Finger poke of doom. Hopefully, I mean. That's it. I mean, and it's weird because we were talking about like people that had kind of a hot and cold type of reaction. One person that I definitely do not want to see, and I kind of skipping around a bit, but I don't want to see Hulk Hogan. I don't want to see a Hulk Hogan. I don't want to see him anywhere. He almost did a reverse Jimmy Carter where he was on top and then kind of after his kind of limelight faded, became infamous of a different ilk. So no Hogan's for me.
No Hogan's for you. Are we doing who we think's gonna be a surprise entrant in the Rumble?
Oh, I guess so. I mean, let's get your Roman Reigns KO pick. You guys.
Oh, Roman,
right?
for sure. Yeah,
Roman
Reigns.
Roman. Okay, that works. I kind of want to touch on the Nia Shayna type deal. I just love the fact that Shayna Baszler is a direct descendant from Josh Barnett, direct descendant from Billy Robinson and Carl Gotch and what have you. And the only person of that ilk that has a WWE contract in 2021 is Shayna Baszler. It is a woman. So I want Shayna to just wreck everything. I want her and Nia to kind of split up, her choke out Nia, her to win the Rumble, like all of it. Like Shayna. So do you guys have anything going that way?
So I mean, let's look at the match as a whole. You got Asuka, who's my favorite, and Charlotte, who's not my favorite, versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Charlotte's not my favorite because I hate the fact that no matter how long she's gone for, as soon as she comes back, they're like, hey, let's put a belt on her. Like, what's laying around? They could dust off the European belt. They might have the Hardcore Championship belt, but they're always going to give her a belt to wear. Asuka just can do no wrong in my book. I just love her matches, love watching her work. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler became a favorite of mine after they beat Sasha Banks and Bayley. Just the way Shayna sells the viciousness of everything that she's doing. Oh man, it's just beautiful and it's believable. And Nia Jax is a monster. And, and people can say that she's hard to work with or dangerous or whatever. But she definitely gave Becky Lynch a second life when she busted her nose. But in this match, I'm definitely going for Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler to get the titles back because they deserve it. And they're just a couple of monsters who never should have lost in the first place.
I'm going because I think the temptation is there. It's too strong to get Charlotte and Asuka again at WrestleMania. I think the intrigue of them retaining here and then Charlotte earning the title shot, whether it's via the Royal Rumble or some other means on Raw, if a SmackDown wrestler, which I suspect if it's not Ronda, will win the Royal Rumble tonight to face Sasha Banks, that it's going to be sort of like when Shawn Michaels and John Cena were tag team champs hurtling towards their confrontation at WrestleMania 23. So I think that adds another level of storytelling, and you know that they're going to want to put Charlotte in a prime spot. Charlotte versus Asuka at WrestleMania was a fantastic match, and I think a return on that stage is going to deliver as well. So I think they retain here, and I do think that Shayna and Nia should break up, like you were saying. So I think that's the route they go.
I think that first off, regarding Charlotte Flair, I don't know why people can't stand greatness. She's so good. She does everything amazing. We all hate Tom Brady because he wins all the time. We all hate LeBron James because he wins all the time. And then when they're gone, everyone's like, I remember back when they used to be out there. Man, she's amazing. Just love her now. I think she's so good. I also love Asuka. I think they're going to retain. They're just too good. They're too good together. They work together, but they also have their own things they're doing, so it's perfect. Whereas I look at the other team, I look at Shayna Baszler. I have all the time in the world for Shayna Baszler. She's one of my favorites. She's great. She could use a little bit bigger of a towel because that towel seems very tiny for her. But I love Shayna Baszler. I think this is the best Nia Jax has been in a long, long time. But they just don't get along, man. And they're two people that want to fight each other. I don't see them making it through this show without exchanging some blows. So I think they're going to lose, and I think that the champs retain.
Julian, you had yours, right?
Yeah, I got mine. I'm going with Nia and Shayna. All
right. I actually want to see, this is kind of like a first time that I could think that we had, I love that you mentioned the tag team champions of Shawn Michaels and John Cena heading into their match at Mania. I actually think that we have both teams kind of break up and kind of start feuding going into Mania. That would be awesome, and I would think that it would create two separate amazing matches to probably end up on the I don't know, the DVD extras of WrestleMania.
And I think to Julian's point, maybe it won't be for the title this year, but for launching Shayna, if they do break up, Shayna versus Nia Jax at WrestleMania is a great showcase for Shayna Baszler to beat that monster on that stage, choke her out and everything. So I think that would really work.
Yeah. All right. So any other things before we go into the Women's Royal Rumble match?
I would just like to echo Mr. Farmer and say that I too am a Charlotte Flair lover, and I don't get the hate. Look, if it's bad creative, I take it out on the creative. But I think as a performer, she's wonderful.
Yes.
So just real quick, we've got 2 matches that we've got to talk about.
Okay.
And one is Bobby Lashley versus Matt Riddle. I'm sorry, Lashley versus Riddle. And then Sasha Banks versus Carmella. I mean, we're looking at an implosion of the Hurt Business. So is that me or?
Yeah.
So we're
that noise.
Yeah. So we're looking at an implosion of the Hurt Business. I don't think that the running that we'd expect to help out Lashley is going to happen. So Matt Riddle might actually walk away with the U.S. title.
So that would be, in my opinion, that would be a shame because I love the Hurt Business. I think they were the surprise sort of superstars of 2020, and have just really carved out this great role for them. So I'm all in on the Hurt Business and Lashley and company. So I hope he walks away with the still U.S. champion.
Yeah, I love the Hurt Business. The only reason I would want him to lose the title is so it opens him up to go on to a bigger title. But I love them having gold. I love them as champions. I think they will hopefully be remembered as the guys holding together so much of Raw over the course of 2020. I like Matt Riddle too, though.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been really fun if he won the Rumble and had to face Goldberg at WrestleMania, and old grumpy Goldberg would have hated it. I'm not holding my breath for that to happen, but that would have been a fun little treat. But I like Matt Riddle, but I think with where the Hurt Business is right now, they're not letting up any of that gold. I think they hold on to it. Was there another match? I forget one.
It was Sasha Banks and Carmella.
Oh yeah, Sasha Banks is retaining.
Banks all day.
Yeah.
I got
Mella's money, but not tonight.
I feel like the Riddle idea would have been so great last year too, because they had to replace Roman last minute. Why not just have Goldberg retain and just feed him Riddle there at WrestleMania? But I get it. Braun Strowman got to have his moment and everything like that.
Correct.
But I'm going Sasha Banks though over Carmella. Although that's been a good feud. I think Carmella's gimmick, since her return's really working well for her. But I think Sasha is going to face. There's a good chance she's going to face who wins the Women's Royal Rumble.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we have, right? Let's see. Might be feedback. Let's see. In terms of the Rumble, let's go with the women's first.
Okay. Surprise entrance. So Ronda Rousey, which I guess is no longer a surprise. We've got to get somebody from NXT, so I'm guessing Rhea Ripley's going to be in there. Becky Lynch coming back. She should be a surprise entrant, or should just show up to interfere, like you were saying. She might not be ready to actually win the Rumble. What's Awesome Kong doing these days?
Nice. I think we might get Io Shirai in terms of a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble for the women. I think you run the risk there because she's still NXT Women's Champion, so you got to make her look good, and I think that they would. One of my favorite Women's Royal Rumble moments, I think Kyrie was still in NXT. She might have been on the main roster at the time, but she was still doing the Pirate Princess gimmick, so I think she was still in NXT. And she was climbing across the ring ropes like laterally, like it was rigging on a pirate ship. And that to me, like the commentators didn't put it over or anything like that, but I popped so big for the dedication to character in that moment. I was like, that is amazing. So I just have to shout out Kairi Sane there, who I miss dearly on my television.
Man, Kairi Sane, we did not appreciate Kairi Sane enough while we had her. That's one I really miss not seeing her. And I actually think that I look back to last year's WrestleMania and you could just tell her entrance would have crushed last year with the pirate ships and stuff. Oh, it would have been so good. I was so devastated about that. I like the outfits they come out to at WrestleMania and the big entrances. So I was bummed out about that. But I could see Io Shirai. I love Io Shirai. I think she's the best female wrestler going right now. She's so good. As far as surprises go, Ronda Rousey obviously is the big one. Becky Lynch, obviously the big one. We'll see some NXT call-ups. But the thing about picking Royal Rumble winners is I feel like so many people, they get caught up in what they want to see happen or who would like have some big career moment with it. But I always say it's typically the people who are already the stars. It's typically the people who are already there. So in my opinion, if I'm picking the winner for the Women's Royal Rumble, I'm picking Bayley. I think Bayley's the one who's going to win it. I think she's the one that I think she's already a star. She's already ready to be there. Her face on a WrestleMania poster already works. So without getting into surprise picks or without picking people that, may or may not show up, I think Bayley is the one I would put my bet on.
I think Bayley is a natural pick because Bayley versus Banks at WrestleMania, we haven't seen it yet before. It still feels like that there is untapped potential in a reprise of their feud since the recent churn and everything like that. I think Ronda is who I would say would be the second potential option there. Mm-hmm. But the more I think about that, if you can get the sort of Becky Lynch interference and that set them off as their own sort of spectacle one-on-one match, you don't really need Ronda to win the Royal Rumble there. So I'm going with Bayley as well. In terms of surprise entrance and NXT call-ups, you put Io Shirai in there, throw Raquel Gonzalez in there as well, have her eliminate Io Shirai, have her have a really strong showing, and then naturally sets more stuff up back on NXT for both of those gals. So I think that would really work.
And don't forget Ember Moon. They'll probably throw her in there also. This will be her, I think it's her second or third Rumble, or Women's Rumble. So they can have her in there. My pick for the Women's Royal Rumble winner is going with Bianca Belair. She just recently had her 24, special on the network. She's been getting a lot of airtime. It's her and Bayley going back and forth. So even seeing maybe down the line her and Bayley feuding for the title, or even if, like you said, if Bayley eliminates her, feuds with Sasha Banks, and then Belair gets a shot at that title come SummerSlam or come the next Mania. I mean, we can see that. We can always see that in the works too.
Yeah, I love Bianca Belair. She is such a tremendous talent and one that I think that they are just now starting to sort of really tap into. And I'm so excited for that. I think if you have Bayley win by ill-gotten means, so that way you have the heel touting this tainted Royal Rumble victory. It's the last thing that she sort of hasn't done on the main roster. And you could have Bianca Belair, be like, you didn't really eliminate me. So whatever you got to do. I do still think Banks retains at Mania, though. So, but maybe if it continues on and then Bayley gets the championship and then you can finally put it on Bianca Belair because she is a superstar.
Yeah, everything about Bianca too, obviously she's great in the ring and her look and everything else, but you can tell that she would move t-shirts. You could tell that people would buy her action figure. You can tell that, again, if you saw her on a poster, you'd be like, oh, what's that all about? So, and look, I'm not embarrassed to say it. Her entrance music is in my workout playlist. I think it's great. Yep. So I think she's got everything you want. But like I said, I feel like the Royal Rumble is for the people who have already been to the promised land, the people who win it. And I think that's why I got to go Bayley. But Bianca Belair, she's going to be huge.
That's why I said at the start, it's the idea that anything could happen.
Yes.
But will anything really happen? Probably not.
That's not as good of a tagline.
No, it's not. But it's more accurate, though. It's not fake news.
Well, the Rumble's always best when they don't play it safe.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I mean,
it's happened, but
I love the story that came out of the Something to Wrestle With podcast with Bruce Pritchard, that Scott Steiner way back in the day, still mullet Scott Steiner, still Michigan Scott Steiner was considered to win the Royal Rumble way back when he was still a relative unknown, in particular in the singles ranks. And they were going to try and use that vehicle to really make him a singles superstar. Obviously they didn't do it, but the idea that they came close to it is interesting.
Did they say what year it was?
Early 90s. I forget exactly which year.
I wonder who ended up winning that one. I'm
trying to think if that was the Brett and Lex one.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that one.
Like, for some reason, that sounds like that would be the one that would have that would have been the one they changed their mind on. It sounds like.
There is something, this is totally off the wall, that I want to circle back to that Mr. Woods was talking about with Hulk Hogan. Now, what if, this is just what if, I'm not saying Hogan should win the Royal Rumble or be in the Royal Rumble at all, but at WrestleMania, if you sort of go the other way and you need an opponent for Roman Reigns that's not John Cena or not Brock Lesnar, what if Roman just squashes Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania? The get back for Yoko and all that stuff and holding people down. Vince McMahon saying, I line my pockets with Sika's money. And you just have the blood of the immortal Hulk Hogan on the chest of the tribal chief and the head of the table at WrestleMania. I'm into that. And it's in Florida. Hogan loves a payday. So why? I think that would be great too. So I'm just throwing stuff against the wall.
I think that'd be great.
And the simple fact that Flash Paper has made its way back onto WWE TV, man, it comes full circle.
Anything can happen in the world of wrestling entertainment.
Shout out Flash Paper.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I should have invested in that during the pandemic. I didn't realize that was going to come back. God, GameStop and Flash Paper. I'm way behind on everything in investments. I don't know what I'm doing out there. So, in terms of for the men's surprise entrance, though, I think Wade Barrett's going to pop in. I think we're gonna see Wade in there, and I love it. He's been killing it on commentary in NXT. So
he definitely has.
Yeah.
Dude, he is so good. He always sounds like he's about ready to beat people up whenever he says anything, though. Like every word he says sounds like it's the last thing he's gonna say before he beats you up. Like
he and Vic Joseph play off each other so well, and it's been a gold combination in my opinion. I love hearing their dynamic, and Wade is just so good. But I think we're gonna see some bad news in the Royal Rumble, and I'm here for it, man.
In a similar vein, I was thinking we might get a little Samoa Joe in the Royal Rumble this year.
I like that.
I'd like to see Samoa Joe and Wade Barrett go at it as battle of the commentators. I think that'd be fun.
That's the great thing that like things like the Royal Rumble or Aztec Warfare can provide you, the match within the match.
Aztec Warfare, yes.
I'm a Lucha Underground guy through and through.
I love it. That's
but yeah, the match within the match, that's those moments are great. So I would love to see a little commentator on commentator crime going on. That'd be awesome.
They call their own match as they're having it.
Yeah, exactly.
Call it in the ring.
Oh, amazing.
So before we get too far, I'm going to say I want literally like all of the legends in the women's match. I want Bull Nakano. I want Eve Torres Gracie. I want like Alundra Blaze. Just like everyone march out here and whatever. And I want to, let's say Bull Nakano wins the women's Royal Rumble. And she goes on to WrestleMania to wreck everything. That's me. Bull Nakano
that would truly be paying off the anything could happen promise of the Royal Rumble.
Right.
I would have to eat a lot of crow.
I would, yeah, and it's funny if that happened, I would totally abandon ship on that I've ever said that, and I'd be like, yeah, James, you are way off. Speaking of the women's legends, though, I think Molly Holly needs to be in every single women's Rumble from here till the end of time. I love it whenever she comes out as well. I feel like the women's Rumble was possibly last year my favorite Rumble of all time. I loved last year's women's Rumble. So they've got a very high bar to fill on my end, but I like Molly Holly as a returning legend. She's always fun to see.
I'd love to see Lay Cool as a tandem in the Royal Rumble again. I think that is an under talked about period of the Divas Championship. They were really, really good together. And so I would love to see, Michelle McCool come out, which, we've seen before a couple times, but to see Layla be the next number entrant would be awesome. And I know they broke up, but if you could at the same time have Billie Kay and Peyton Peyton Royce in the ring together as well, sort of to play off of that would be awesome also.
I agree with you. Like, cool. I think the historically the issue with them is like right after them is when I think women's wrestling really just exploded.
Yes.
And so I feel like if they were just like a few years shifted into the future, we would remember them completely differently.
Yeah.
But like it was just a hair off before it all blew up. So they kind of get lumped into the pre-revolution era. Yeah, but yeah, I think they were great. I'd love to see them come back. And I you know, it's funny. I always think like we give the WWE a hard time for getting things wrong, but I actually really like what they're doing with the Iconics in a lot of ways. Billy Kay is the most lovable, annoying person I've ever seen on TV, and Peyton Royce is great. But yeah, I'd like to see them come back together and do some stuff.
I think it'd be a nice nod if it's just even a one-off in the Royal Rumble. I think that'd be cool.
I got 2 names for you.
All right.
We need to see Jamie Noble bring out Nydia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pick up the double wide, baby.
Right out the double wide.
I love it. Yeah, I was a fan of Nydia. What's Jackie Gata doing too?
Oh,
I'm
man.
married to Charlie Haas. Which Rocky Nelson says Baszler versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. They have history going back to the Ultimate Fighter. They can somehow turn on one another. That's an interesting storyline. Absolutely. And as we get into the Men's Royal Rumble, Rocky Nelson also says Hornswoggle will be a surprise entrant and win this year.
That's bold.
Says, who do you guys think you're going to make a surprise appearance besides John Cena? And I'm going to actually go ahead and take the head, and you guys can have the floor after this. I think the final 4, actually, surprise entrant, I would love nothing more to see the villain, Marty Scurll, essentially be. I mean, that's the only thing and name that is out there that has a little bit of clout. And I think if he was going to AEW, he would have been there already because AEW likes the hot shot. So the fact that he's been removed as the head booker of ROH and the contract is up, I say Scurll. I would say him in the final 4, and I actually would like to see Samoa Joe, Scurll, Nakamura, and Wade Barrett. That's my final 4.
Wow. And you got Nakamura,
and Nakamura winning.
I was gonna say you got Nakamura winning. Okay.
Nah.
Go for it, guys.
I'm gonna say my surprise person that's gonna come in is RVD. I think he's gonna come in and have a cool little few moments. I think he's one of those guys that I think whenever he comes back, you're still excited for him. And I think he can still do some fun things that will make us go, oh, hey, I remember that. And he'll be able to do his little thing and we'll love it and it'll be great. Final 4. Again, I don't like adding in the surprises because I don't know if John Cena is going to be there. I feel like there's actually a good chance he could be in it and he could win it. But I'm going to say I was saying Randy Orton all the way up until last night because I thought that him winning and then going against Goldberg at Mania, a legend killer versus a legend would have been cool. But now that he's entry number 1, I feel like it's going to be the final 4. I think the Fiend is going to win. That's my new change. And I think Fiend. So Fiend, Edge. I think he's going to go the distance, then get cut short at the end. Probably, I don't know, a Sheamus, and I'll add AJ. No. Daniel Bryan.
Sheamus is an interesting name to throw out there too, because you got to feel like there's the shoe to drop with him and Drew and everything like that. So if Drew does drop the title to Goldberg, I think we're going to be getting a Sheamus Drew McIntyre kind of deal at WrestleMania. And in terms of potential surprise entrance, we haven't mentioned before, but he has done it before. That's I'd love to see Diesel pop into the Royal Rumble. He's been very pro WWE in recent days, so I reward him with a good little cameo there. Hopefully he's got his knee braces on and everything will be all right.
What if he pulls a Mick Foley and he comes in as Diesel, gets eliminated, and then comes in as Kevin Nash?
And then comes back in as Oz, and then Vinny Vegas. I love it. Great booking. In terms of Final 4, I think Daniel Bryan's going to be in that mix. I could see Edge being in that mix. And then I've got 2 surprises who I think will ultimately, could be the winners, which are Brock Lesnar and John Cena. I could see them going either route there. So those are sort of the 4 names I'm throwing out there to watch. I'm into John Cena winning this so Roman can beat him at WrestleMania. I'm into Brock Lesnar winning this so either Goldberg or Roman can beat him at WrestleMania. Whatever you want to do with those guys or win. Look, Brock Lesnar is a draw and an attraction. If he wants to be around more often, I'd love to see it. I'm a firm believer in keeping Brock strong for that very reason. But that's sort of my picks. I guess if you had to put me on the spot, I'll say John Cena is winning this year's Royal Rumble because that's what I want to see. I want to see Roman and Cena at WrestleMania. If we're not getting The Rock versus Roman, which all reports are that we're not, then I think you go John Cena.
Yeah.
So as far as surprise entrants go, you guys don't know this, but I'm a big mark for 3MB. So
I've heard you the Cero Miedo.
Yeah.
I've got to have the modern day Maharaja coming back into the ring.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You guys saw the Superstar Spectacular, but there were a number of talents from India, and you know how Vince loves his giants. A couple big dudes who really showed up on that show. So I think there was the tag team who's already been in NXT, and then there were 2 really big guys who definitely could show up in this Rumble, or one of them just to have your giant, your great Khali-ish kind of person coming to the ring. I'm kind of hoping that John Cena will show up. That'll be a great surprise entry. As far as my Final Four goes, I think that Edge will last until the end and to get to the Final Four. It'll be Edge, Daniel Bryan. I'm really hoping for Cesaro to finally get that moment. I would love to see Cesaro get that moment. They've been pushing him really hard lately, so that would be fantastic. And then probably you'll get a Braun Strowman. And then also what we forgot about is maybe The Miz will cash in his Money in the Bank during one of the Rumble matches, probably not against Roman Reigns. So he'd have to go over after Drew McIntyre or Goldberg.
I would love to see him try and cash in on Goldberg. Ain't gonna that dog won't hunt
and just get flattened.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned Braun Strowman, who's somebody we haven't talked about yet today, and I'm actually a really big Braun Strowman fan, and I do think that he has a good shot to be in the Final Four. It just feels like they should have pulled the trigger with him a year or 2 ago. When the Monster Among Men thing was red hot. And then for whatever reason, they didn't fire it off. I thought he should have been, the one to beat Brock Lesnar. I think they faced off in LA at No Mercy or something like that. And but I'm still a big believer in Braun. So if they were to pull the trigger on him and have him win the Royal Rumble, I'd be cool with that too.
Now, Braun was Universal Champion for a little bit, correct?
Yeah, but he was the replacement for Roman. It just it never felt like it was his deal. It was like your quarterback got hurt and you were already in the Super Bowl, so here's the backup. Right. It just didn't feel like they weren't really giving him the ball necessarily.
Yeah.
You know who we didn't talk about as a surprise entrance that could come in is Seth Rollins could come in and make some noise as well.
I think he'll be in there.
Yeah. So I don't know, just on that.
He'd be a good winner too.
I don't know. I feel like him and I feel like the 2 champs. I don't know what champ combination I'd really be that eager to see. I mean, there's story there, but I don't know.
There's definitely a lot of history with Seth and Roman, but I would assume he'd still be a heel. So heel versus heel WrestleMania isn't usually the biz.
Yeah. But I think it's so it's I think this sounds like it's gonna be a good show. I think it's gonna be a good Rumble. I'm excited to see what happens. We make the joke about anything could happen, but I really believe that this is gonna be one of those shows where even though as much as I think I know it's gonna happen, I'm still gonna be second guessing every little thing. Like Goldberg. Will Goldberg actually win or will Drew beat him? Will Kevin Owens actually lose or could he win? It's going to be exactly what you look for in a good show like this. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be amazing.
I completely agree. This is one of the more sort of wide open Royal Rumbles that we've had in recent memory, which is what you want. There's a lot of Royal Rumbles which have been good, but there's sort of the preordained, who's going to win kind of deal. I think last year it was pretty. Drew McIntyre was definitely a heavy favorite last year in the Royal Rumble and everything like that. But this one feels pretty wide open. I think we've all thrown out some really good suggestions of things that could actually happen and that would be, good for, the WrestleMania season. So I'm very, very excited for this year's edition of the Royal Rumble.
Excellent. There you have it. The first Royal Rumble, according to Woods, and hopefully this could be a yearly kind of thing that we do. So again, thank you guys for joining us. This has been According to Woods, and everybody, plug your stuff.
Well, I guess I'll go first. My name's Jack Farmer. You can find me on social media at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out. I'm now hosting Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which had the first episode with me on it just last night. You can check it out on Fight TV as well, and you can also hear the golden voice of James Kincaid as well. So make sure to check it out while you're there.
Stop. You can find me at James Kincaid on Twitter, at bimbo.jimbo on Instagram. I too, yes, check out all things Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or wherever you happen to be catching this podcast. Check your local listings. If you're in LA, watch Jack Farmer host it. Up here in the Bay Area, it is myself and Timeless Levi Shapiro taking you into the show on ABC 7. So check all that good stuff out and enjoy the Royal Rumble, people.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Chemical Julian. I'm just a wrestling fan. My day job is I'm a chemical engineer. So go ahead and look me up, say hello, find me on Facebook, and please enjoy the Rumble, drink responsibly.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe.